without doubt, there is a problem with coaching. I mean, Prof. Andrew himself knows it. The athletes themselves know it, that to reach the level that they want to get to, you have to invest in the level of trainers that the best are used to. You can't change that. You are not the one to come and change the status quo and say that we are going to use Prof. Andrew alone, or we are going to use the friends, the coaches who are now their friends. And I think that was an aspect of the thing, because whilst these guys were excelling at the university, the coaches who had helped them to get there were people who had essentially become family, had become friends and all of that. But these are purely professional decisions that you have to make. Fortunately for us, quite a number of them are exposed to some level of elite training, so you can say that. But for me, I think that we're making excuses to a certain extent, right? I'll come to the bit about the sports ministry, but I don't think what happened yesterday had anything to do with the fact that we are making too many changes at the team. Look, we've seen teams shatter Olympic records, world records, by making changes, introducing fresh names to established squads. And those changes actually were the ones that took them to the Jamaican team that won the Olympics in 2008. Before the final, they made a change. Usain Bolt replaced Dwight Thomas for that final in 2008. We know that how that ended. They made that change, but it was immaterial. If anything at all, it went in their favor because
so actually, I don't want to truncate your toss, but the point is that you are referring to a Jamaican team, an all-rounded team, where they train their athletes. No matter who steps in, you hardly find a flaw.
I'm coming.
We do not have that.
I just want to establish that people can even make last-minute changes, right? 2012 as well, there was another change. This time you had Nesta Carter, Michael Frater, Johan Blake, and then the ever-present Bolt. In 2016, I think Nicholas Ashmead, or was it Nick Ashmead was the one, was that new face in it. So and all of this was because after every major meet, the World Championships, the Diamond Leagues in between, a new talent will pop up, whose times are such that you cannot ignore them. I think the problem we had here was perhaps the lack of preparation and then the field execution on the day. Because only in May, this team ran a better time than they did yesterday. Now, if you look at the splits, Saminu ran 10.63, Azamati 9.43, Fuseni, Joe Paul, Fuseni 9.21, and then Joe Paul 9.35. All very good times by themselves. I think the problem here was the execution and the precious seconds that we lost there. Because look, and for those asking why we did not have Botio or we didn't stay with the teams from 2019 on, the sort of time Samino has been running, you can't ignore him and take him out of the best four. He's one of the top 200 meters runners for Ghana now. The idea that he will not be part of the relay team is simply, it makes no sense. So he had to be there. And he proved his mettle. Look, as at the time he was passing the baton to Azamati, he was neck and neck with
Canada,
the Chinese,
and
even the Canadians who eventually won the race. So our first leg, we ran it well. The problem was the baton change. And you see, I've seen a couple of questions about how, but the last time, Azamati ran the back straight, I think, in Bahamas. So why did we have to change for him to come and run now? Look, I get that. He was excellent, I think, on the third leg at that time. And if you look at the time that he ran, he was able to recover a deficit of 0.15. And then by the time he was done, created some gulf between himself and the Nigerian. And that's how come we won that particular race. But even this time, he still ran 9.43. He ran 9.43 here, which isn't shabby. Fuseni also did. The problem was the precious seconds that we lost then between that changeover and it was unpardonable. How he missed the hand. Look, these things happen. We get it. Mistakes happen, but it should not have happened. Right? It should not have happened. And if you look at even the times that Fuseni and Joe Paul ran, the reason this happened was because there is a lack of intentional and thoughtful leadership in Ghana.
the reason why they fail to execute.
There is a lack of intentional and thoughtful problem-solving leadership in Ghana. This year alone, right, before this event, everyone was talking about how, oh, we've dropped the baton, or we've had this mishap 4 out of the last 10 races. Every single radio show talked about it. TV, online, everywhere, podcasts, people spoke about it. It was somebody's job to take that. If you like, don't ask for us, we are fools, we don't know anything. Don't listen to the jokers on radio. It is your job to look at the history of this team and find a way to solve their problems. Solving that problem required getting them additional support staff. Right? And you see, in football, accomplished people, and I say accomplished people, era-defining people like Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp, have the humility to accept that for something as basic as a throw-in, they can't fix it. So Jurgen Klopp will tell Liverpool, hire me a corner kick expert, a free kick expert, and the club will pay. Because over there, they recognize specialization, and they respect it, and they know that if you are not a psychologist, you cannot do this job. If your job is not to help people, or if you haven't proven in the past that you have a track record of putting certain ideas to work within specific contexts and producing certain results, you won't get such jobs. So there's been before this, there was an issue of this team dropping the baton. An aspect of it was psychological, an aspect of it was technical. And you see, we saw this. It happened here at the African Games in Accra. It happened again when we went to the World Relays in Bahamas. It happened. At the May, it happened. If we had thoughtful and intentional leadership, what they would have noticed was this. This thing, you cannot put Leo Masmos there and expect him to go and fix it, because, in fact, as for Leo Masmos himself, he has issues to answer from the Commonwealth Games in Miami. This is a job the people who have put there in the last 5 years have failed. World Athletics in 2021, Tokyo, African Games, Bahamas, and now in France. Clearly, it is beyond the competence of the people in charge of this team.
All right.
But you see, just to conclude.
Yeah, just conclude. Let me go to
this thing is an extension of the general attitude and the support system that does not exist for our athletes. And for me, I'm going to end by saying that if I have any advice to Rosie Eboa, Samino, and all of those, your future, as for Rosie Eboa, your future is like Deborah Akwa if you don't advise yourself. Saminu, your future is like Benjamin Azamati. Do you know what happened to them? They were breaking national records as students because they had access to elite trainers who were paid for by the school. They had access to quality materials or infrastructure that they could run on, so that when you run that time, it will be recognized internationally. That's how come, no matter how fast Edwin Gadayi runs on Ghanaian tracks, he is only relevant in conversations that are insignificant. Because if he runs 995, 99 whatever, it is on tracks that are not internationally certified. So these universities picked our students, excelled, they broke national records. In fact, we're looking at all-timers. I mean, people take what they've done for granted, but in the last 5 years, we've had them breaking national records for fun. If you are not a generational talent, you won't dare. There's a reason those are national records. But since these guys left school, they do not have the money to go and fly and compete at the World Relays and these events by themselves. So you are beginning to see a certain stagnation, in certain cases, drop in performance levels, because he can't be a coach by himself. If you do not belong to an athletics club out there, the country will leave you for dead. And 2 years after that, the same Ghanaians will start. You see the things they are saying to Benjamin Azamati now.
Specs.
They will be saying the same things to Abdul Saminu. The things we were saying, and you see, for Rosie Eboa has hurts because as recent as June, what was the mark she cleared? 1.97.